Hi guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. So today I'm going to be joined by Curtis Corby. We're going to be talking about whether golf is going to be restarting, how soon it's going to be, and could it even be as soon as Monday. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Look at that, look. Augusta in the
Background.
background. Someone missing golf a bit much.
Oh mate, don't. I'm absolutely craving being out there, especially because the weather's been really nice as well. So
Oh no, it's been absolute torment, isn't it?
yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, I've been cleaning my golf clubs, putting in the front room, chipping in the garden.
I saw your towel out ready to go.
I know. I bet you any money though. I'll get out and probably play my first round and play rubbish and will not want to play again for a month. But
I don't know, like it's weird, isn't it? The first one back, it's always a weird one. You could play like out of your skin, and then the next one will be awful. But it's itching to get back out there, really.
I know. I think as well because, like I said, the weather's been really nice, and the fact that it's when you know you can't do something, it makes you want it even more.
Yeah. Like I hadn't really played. I practiced a bit through the winter, and then about 3-4 weeks before lockdown started, I was playing again 2-3 times a week, and like traveling to I played St Mellion the day of lockdown, basically. Oh, wow. So like, I was traveling to a few places and playing everywhere, getting back into it, and then obviously we had lockdown, and I was just like, great.
Sod's law, innit?
I mean, I've hit nothing since because I'm in my flat, so I've got no space whatsoever. So I've literally just been hitting a few putts on my carpet, and that is it. So it'll be interesting to see what I do when I get back.
Yeah, and it's not quite the same, is it? I mean, even just like practicing, I've got quite a thick pile carpet, so even just practicing a few putts, it's not.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's completely flat and it's far too heavy, so it's not gonna. You'll get on the greens and probably absolutely smash them through the break. So there's no.
It's like putting on a public golf course.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, mate. But how have you been anyway? The family all well?
Yeah, not too bad. Well, I'm on my own, aren't I? So I'm in the flat on my own. I've been in lockdown for what are we now, 7th week. I've been 7 weeks on my own, which is proved to be pretty tough. But I was one of those really where, you know, my mindset's quite chilled. But like I thought, this would be a doddle a few weeks on my own. Like shouldn't be a problem. Like 4th week, I hit a real low. Like I was just horrendous.
Yeah.
Had no idea what to do with myself. I was just sitting around doing absolute bugger all. My sleeping pattern was like completely shot. Kind of snapped out of it and just kind of got myself doing a bit of exercise really. So I borrowed my mate's bike and I've been cycling for the last few weeks really, and just doing that.
Yeah.
Doesn't
make a lot of difference.
What about yourself?
Sorry, mate. Carry on.
So what about yourself?
Yeah, I've been going out on the bike probably once every couple of days, going out for like nice long, like an hour walk every day. Obviously the first few weeks of lockdown we had that really nice weather, didn't we? So even though I'm working 3 or 4 days a week, I have obviously still managed to chill out, enjoy it. Played quite a lot of Xbox, got very good at stuff like Call of Duty in the golf club. And yeah, made a little bit of YouTube content, which has been quite cool.
I've been watching your videos.
Yeah, just trying to keep busy really. I mean, before this all started, I was hoping to get out on the course. I had loads of stuff planned, and I've just kind of done a video on it a few weeks ago. There was a few reasons, bad weather and stuff, and I just missed a couple of rounds of golf, and suddenly I just didn't make any content, and it was like 3 months. So
it's easy to get into that lull though, isn't it? Especially at the minute.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really easy. Like I've done absolutely nothing for God knows how long. There's many reasons to that, but one of the reasons was I just wanted to solely try and focus on my golf, because you'll know it's so hard to actually focus on playing when you're doing things like filming. You actually you lose focus of why you're doing it.
Yeah,
that's and I found myself doing that. Like I started doing a few bits with Flower and stuff, and Flower was the same really. Like there he is trying to focus on golf and trying to make like really quality content. Yeah. And you just can't really do the two at your best. It's so hard.
Difficult. Yeah, everyone says it. I was watching a live stream of Peter Finch the other day, and he was saying about I can't remember what he was playing at a competition, some course. He was like, I really love playing at the course, but I didn't actually feel like I took it in because I was so busy trying to get like nice shots of the backgrounds. I think it was some real hilly, like amazing backdrop course, and he was like, well, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I probably should have because I was too busy looking for camera angles, which it is about, find that happy medium. Like we were saying earlier, I was saying about doing a few videos for the future and probably, getting, working with people like yourself to help just do the video and stuff like that, and vice versa, just so that you can concentrate on your golf shots and enjoying it, and let someone else sort the camera angles out. And
yeah, exactly.
Obviously, it's not as easy.
That's where the bigger YouTubers have got kind of a bit more of, well, I don't know what the word is, but like they can focus on golf a bit more because they can afford to have someone following them around, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, like to Rick Shields and Peter Finch, etc. That have got.
But even James, like James Wiltshire, I think towards the end of summer last year, he was doing like a Saturday shootout with 9 holes. I featured on it, and a few others featured on it as well. And he had someone filming for him, so he could literally just focus on playing golf and having a laugh at the person he was playing with, rather than having to worry about filming. And it makes such a difference. And the content's probably a little bit better because he's more relaxed.
Yeah, and you can actually concentrate and like think about what you want to say as well to camera. Like if you're, let's say, setting up a camera, you know how busy it is out on golf courses as well. It just
you rush, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. You've got 2 free balls behind you, and then suddenly it's you and a friend, and you're trying to rush through, and you don't want to be letting. It's a night. Me and you've done it. It's an absolute nightmare, isn't it? Sometimes, but
it is hard.
Yeah, and as well, it's like trying to do stuff a little bit different. So obviously, part of talking point about getting you on a call is chat about golf, and obviously when we're going to be going back. I know that obviously we've got the announcement on Sunday from Boris Johnson about kind of relaxing some rules, it seems. So
yes,
be interesting to see how golf is with that.
I've never been that political ever. Like politics is something for me that has never really, I've never taken an interest in or anything. But obviously with this, I've taken such a huge interest in it. A, because it's my profession, like golf is my profession now, and B, obviously because it's in the interest of the public to know what's going on. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I'm a bit on the fence as to whether much will actually be changed initially. Part of me really wants golf to get back as soon as it possibly can, because I do think it can be done. And obviously the RNA have set out certain things that they believe that can kind of you can do whilst obeying the social distancing rules. I don't think social distancing is actually a problem on the golf course. No, I think so. Like I watched Dan Hendrickson talk about it the other day actually with Leicester, and I think what he was saying is something I think is actually trusting the people to actually do it. Yeah, like the rules will be there, absolutely fine. It's just trusting the people to do it, because I think people are going to be so keen to get out. Yeah, definitely. That they might almost just disregard a few of the rules. Like obviously, the no touching flags and things will be easy for people because we were doing that before lockdown anyway. Yeah. It's just whether people can stick to the kind of 2 meters apart and things like that. Because obviously, you wouldn't have seen anyone for God knows how long. No, it's going to be. Your natural tendencies are to go to those people, aren't they? So it'll be interesting. I'd love to see it back. It's just whether we can kind of really trust golfers to do it. Yeah. Obviously, 99% of them will be absolutely fine, but there are always a few that will kind of just push the boundaries a little bit. Oh yeah, if it means getting back out onto the course, you'd hope that people would be clever enough to switch on and abide by the rules. But you and I both know how people can be, especially golf is one of them sports that people can be quite pig-headed at times. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of the guys at the golf clubs like yourself are going to find it. Are going to have a real job on your hands. Make sure people aren't coming to the pro shop, or that only a certain amount of people are in there. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what Exminster's like. It's not the biggest pro shop in the world anyway. So I haven't really spoke to the head pro that much about it, but we're going to talk about maybe 2 or 3 people in the shop at a time. Yeah. We're still unsure whether the driving range is actually going to be open. If it is, it'll be every other bay. Yeah. And even then, it'll just be a case of us dispensing the balls rather than buckets and stuff out there, because obviously touching points are a massive thing. So yeah, it's just there's still so much up in the air, which is why I'm kind of thinking I don't know whether it'll happen straight away. Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, there is something happening on Sunday, Monday, isn't there? It's looking like that it is going to be relaxed to some extent. It's just whether golf will be allowed back yet. I'm not too sure. Yeah, the kind of the rumours and the murmurings throughout the press are that they're going to. It looks like it's going to be relaxing stuff around seeing friends and family. I guess what a lot of people would be saying, and the argument would have been, I'm guessing from the RNA and the other golf associations would have been, well, if people can go out and run and go on bike rides, why can't they in groups of 2 go and play golf? Which absolutely. I didn't see a problem with it, but if it's one of the things, isn't it? You don't want it to be putting anyone at risk,
but it all comes down to how people can abide by the rules, and that's always going to be the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those, like, I must admit, like, this country seems to have adapted really well to it. Obviously, there have been certain things you've seen online of like groups gathering and certain age groups gathering, and unfortunately, I think you're always going to get that. There's always going to be those people that just think, oh no, it's not going to happen to me. I'm just going to live my life as normal as I possibly can, which is frustrating because it ruins it for the majority of the other people that want to get out and even just see that one family member that they can.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, at the minute, like for myself, like my mum's in Exeter, I'm in King Staton, so at the minute I'm not seeing anyone. I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
I'm literally cycling on my own and doing it. So I'm itching to get out and see family and a couple of friends as well. So it's just a bit like, well, why should people like myself and you probably, like, why should we suffer for those people that don't want to abide by a rule for, okay, what seems like a lifetime in 6-7 weeks of lockdown. Like for me, I don't know about you, but the 7 weeks has flown.
Yeah, it has gone really quickly. I find the weeks, like days feel long, but then the weeks seem to go really fast, if that makes sense. So
no, I
get a lot out of your day. Especially like personally, I've still been doing quite a bit of work. You feel like your day, you have a lot more time to do stuff. But yeah, the weeks is flying by. I think it's like Thursday of this week already.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. But
I never, like, at the start of this, I was quite sceptical of the lockdown and whether it would actually happen because I was one of those naive people at the start, like, admittedly, that didn't think it was going to be that bad in this country. And when we had the lockdown, I was like, it won't last like 8-9 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it will be because the country can't function. So it's really surprised me about how the time's flown and how the country have actually survived. It's made me certainly realise what I can live without, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's quite interesting about actually talking about golf, but obviously I've been dealing with from a rugby side and knowing a lot about that, I've read a lot about football and things like that. It'd be interesting to see what the sport is like after this and if it makes any difference for good or for bad. It could be a good kind of turning of a corner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Like, I think it will benefit some sports and I think it will probably hinder others. Yeah. I think things that have got massive crowds to it, things like rugby and football, I honestly do, and even golf to an extent with tournaments and things like that. I see the sports, I don't know about you with rugby, but I see them struggling because I just don't think when you watch a Premiership match, whether it's rugby or football, the part of the enjoyment is soaking in an atmosphere, whether you're watching it on Sky or whether you're there. And I struggle to see how companies and like TV broadcasting companies are going to replicate that. Again, I think it's something Dan Hendrickson pointed out. He goes, commentators, if it does go to like behind closed doors, have got their work cut out to create that atmosphere because otherwise it's just going to be almost dead, isn't it?
But it might kind of push people to up their game. So it might push like broadcasters like Sky Sports, for example, to up their game on their coverage. Maybe get into, trying to push to a younger audience, maybe getting in influencers and stuff like that. So people in the golf community, for example, golf. And just trying to change the way they do things because when something's stagnant, obviously the beauty you've got of it is that there's time to think, there's time to go back to the drawing board and plan, whether that's from like a competition point with the European and PGA Tour or like your broadcasters, even down to like YouTubers. I'm sure that everyone's kind of sat back and thought, well, what content am I making? Is it worth it? Is it good? Is it adding any value? And I've certainly been kind of doing a bit of, not research, well, research. I watch a lot of YouTube, but trying to just check out what people are doing and think of doing things a little bit differently. And that might be great. Some people that have watched mine and your stuff for a long time might love that change. Some people might not like it, but I think it can only be good.
I mean, I think with golf, an idea that for the future, if there are going to be no crowds, the idea of like Tiger and Phil did last year, when they're mic'd up, it's a perfect opportunity, especially if there's not going to be as many tournaments or if any tournaments until next year. Why players can't almost go kind of like in the style of a vlog. I don't see why they can't do that. And then or even if Sky follow them round kind of thing, Sky Sports broadcast these matches, whether it's a match play thing and just change it, like you say, change it up a little bit because you're right, with golf especially, there is a market for it online and clearly because there's so many YouTubers out there doing it. And there's obviously an aspect of that people love watching, whether it's the banter between golfers and mates, I don't know, but I think that'd be an awesome idea. Like if you actually look at like the play, like if you put two players that are quite close to each other on the tour, get them mic'd up and a camera following and playing golf, I think it'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, you think people like Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and people like that, like really get on well outside the sport. You know, like Bryson and Ricky, like real characters against each other. And there's no reason, I think, like brands might start using their time with their athletes a little bit better and actually doing stuff. Because you know, it's all right. For example, TaylorMade doing a video and Roy, etc., hitting a new sim and being like, "Oh, it's amazing." When we all know the stats have come out from nearly everybody that's reviewed stuff saying there's very minimal changes, and I just think that that kind of, and I get it, they've got to sell stuff, but that marketing ploy all the time is a little bit samey. If you do that every year, you don't.
Well, it's just getting a bit tedious watching that stuff now, isn't it? It was all right to start with when you had 8 or 9 players together going, "Oh my god, this is amazing." But when they do that for 2-3 years on the bounce, you start going, "Okay, I'm a bit bored of this now."
Yeah, it definitely does wear thin, and I think people are starting to cut onto it, and golf consumers are a lot more smart. But
they're a lot more switched on.
Yeah. Have you quick question? Obviously, you said about you've been played a bit of golf before lockdown, was getting back into it. Have you changed anything in your bag?
You're testing me now. I'm trying to think. When did we last play? We played at Exeter, didn't we? Was that the last time we played?
Yeah.
So
last summer.
I haven't changed any. No, I haven't.
No,
nothing has changed. No, absolutely nothing. I'm one of those. I don't really change a lot like yourself. I don't think you change it that much, but
no.
Once I'm happy with my setup, it kind of stays like that for a couple of years.
Yeah, to be fair, you got a nice setup
it takes a lot for me. It takes something to really turn my head to turn around and go, actually, like I want that.
Yeah.
Once I'm kind of comfortable with something in any sport that I've played, it kind of sticks with me until something comes along and physically turns around and turns my head and makes me think, I need to change.
Yeah, definitely. I was the same. I mean, I put a club in the bag like maybe once a year or something like that. I think January I put a new putter. It wasn't a new one. It's a like refurb ping putter, which I really like, absolutely love, like bladed
Got rid
style.
of the TaylorMade.
Yeah, I did, and I actually ended up selling it for like hardly anything. I wish I didn't bother in it because I got hardly anything for it.
Yeah,
you never know. Putter's one of the things you can always go back to, but I did that in January. So that's like another new addition, and
the new big boys new big dogs in the bag.
Yeah, so you were known playing with me that it was driving me crazy having a draw biased ping, which is now, I think it kind of like 2014, that club. So
yeah,
I definitely I'm not a buyer into all of the marketing rubbish. To be honest, it comes out.
No.
But I think like 5 years worth of change in tech is quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. Like I did one of my very first videos I did. I think I went on a massive rant. I think it was I targeted TaylorMade a little bit, so a bit guilty of that. But I used them as an example. I think it was when the speed ports and the injected speed foam and all that kind of stuff came out.
Yeah. And
I actually put a chart up of Rory McIlroy from when he used his Nike driver to when he used that TaylorMade driver. I used both seasons, so his best seasons for Nike and his best season with that TaylorMade driver in terms of driving accuracy and distance. And he was actually better with his Nike. So, and there could be a lot of reasons for that. It could be physicality, it could be anything. But I just found it very interesting because at the time, obviously, TaylorMade were pumping the advertising, going, we've made it, the whole thing of making it illegal and then having to bring it back to be as the club face as fast as it possibly can.
Yeah.
To me, it just seems so far-fetched, so I had to kind of look into it.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting watching it. I think Rick Shields has done quite a similar video as well in terms of the evolution of TaylorMade over like 5 years.
Yeah.
And there wasn't, in terms of like distance, which is what for those years they've really kind of claimed, there wasn't like a massive difference. I think it was only about 7 or 8 yards, which isn't really a lot in the grand scheme when you think about how much money they're spending. Yeah,
exactly. I think like for me, one of the things was a price point, which I don't spend a fortune on golf clubs. So the fact I got my driver for the price I did was like, that was like a no-brainer. I was going to potentially buy the model before the F8 for the same kind of price. Things like
you might as well just spend
179. So yeah, for 20 quid more, basically, I managed to get the year later model and the one that don't read into every review that I read, but categorically come out as one of the better performing drivers in last year. So,
well, I was going to say, I think that was driver of the year, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah, and like I just when I was just leaving American Golf, actually, it had just come out, so I tried it, and so obviously I hit the shaft. I knew exactly what head I wanted and all that stuff. So although I wasn't custom fit by it, you know,
I knew what it was about.
Yeah, I worked in golf, and I still preferred the feel of that face over anything that what do they call it now, the kind of grooves on the face, the
milled face, isn't it?
Yeah, milled face. Yeah, was that nicest feeling. So again, it's like I would only change not for the sake of it, but only because I think it's going to make a difference.
They are good clubs. One of the lads at work who comes in, he's only been playing golf for about 6-7 months, but he bought the driver and Freewood.
Yeah, and
he bought them in similar specs to what I play in anyway. So I hit them on the range. I mean, they are great clubs. They really are. There's no arguing about it. It's like you say, you just don't know whether they're doing what they say they do on the advert. Really, it's difficult to tell. I think
you don't.
That's where golf is like the whole thing with like twist face, for instance. When that happened with TaylorMade, it was like, well, if you hit certain spots on the club face, you know, it'll bring it back onto the fairway, and it's like, well, that's great, but what if you don't hit it there and all that kind of stuff? There were so many variables to it. And they were testing it with a robot, which the closest thing to a robot is probably going to be a professional golfer. And it always confuses me, that does, because they're not aiming those golf clubs at professional golfers.
No.
You know, they're aiming at the amateur kind of market. So why on earth would you test it over a consistency thing? Because amateur golfers just aren't consistent.
No, I think there's definitely...
always baffled me, the whole testing of it. Surely you'd rather get volunteers from the public and go, right, hit this and then see what happens.
Yeah, it's something that I want to do, and obviously it's hard because it's like, where do you do it, etc. But is go to some fitting days and try out clubs, and as a handicapper, test what they're actually like and what difference they make. The difficulty with that is obviously that honesty is whether someone on a range is going to want you to do that. But
it's tough.
Yeah, I've had a few.
You have to be a bit sneaky about it.
Yeah, I mean,
film it and then go and evaluate it at home.
Yeah, I've had conversations about it with people. You know, people like Orca, for example, and who else? Like PXG have been around, like local clubs and stuff like that. So
Orca, Dainton use one of the suppliers for Orca. Rich uses them. I mean, he still uses them as for their irons. I think not driver anymore, but and they're lovely irons. But they're more than happy for like people to test them, and they're so confident with what they've got that the majority of people that I've seen that have tested them have turned around and said they're brilliant. They might not be the best looking golf clubs in the world, but they do exactly what they're supposed to, and it's just it's interesting.
Yeah, it'll be I say it's going to take probably a bit of wiggling in, and obviously being a smaller channel, you don't have the clout, for example, to say you get X amount of views, but you've all got to start somewhere, and hopefully these guys will understand that obviously it's a good thing to get involved with. It doesn't take up any of their effort. You know, if I just am there with one of their clubs, I know what I'm doing with golf clubs. I don't really need someone explaining it. And if they want to, they can do. But I think trying to get in with a pro that has a range and a launch monitor would be really good, but it's difficult.
It is tough. Like, I mean, I was lucky really, because at the same time that I started YouTube, I was working in golf. So, and like at clubs. So it was like, well, I already knew a few pros as it was, so I could kind of call on a few favours quite quickly. So I got kind of lucky. So like Rich, for instance, I had a couple of lessons with Rich, and I was in his kind of studio using his TrackMan. So it was quite nice to be able to use that, and then vice versa, getting involved with. Obviously, I had the simulator when I first started because I was down at the bunker. So it was I was in a fortunate position where I could kind of use that stuff early on, really. I'd probably still go back there. You went back there recently. Well, not so recently, back in the winter, didn't you?
Just before Christmas, yeah. Yeah, it was good. The guys were like lovely, the most friendly people, welcoming people. They welcomed me down there to come down. I think I had booked an hour, but they let me use longer because they were closing up in an hour's time. No one else had booked in, so it was good.
Yeah, they are good. It's a good thing to have something like that so close, really. Especially like I say, if you've not got access, or your pro hasn't got access to a simulator or anything, things like that are quite good.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just difficult to film in there, I suppose, because of the lighting. That's the only thing I found. But
yeah, and a little bit of space as well, but that's as much about my camera, and that kind of stuff more than anything.
yeah,
Lighting is difficult, but it's, I guess everybody finds out with simulators, unless I've seen what a lot of the guys have been doing, obviously getting screen recordings and put that over the top, like Crossfield, for example, they've been doing that, and that looks absolutely amazing. So fair play to them, they're up in the game, and give them credit for that. They are definitely, as time's going on, making their content better and better. So it's inspiring to see, to be fair.
It's interesting to see what YouTube or golf on YouTube will do. Like, because obviously at the minute no one's able to play, so naturally I'd imagine the views and things are going up because they've got nothing else to do, kind of thing, for those that aren't working at home or anything. But at the same time, you almost think, well, is that a good thing? That, like, short term, it's a great thing because people are watching it more. But in terms of long term, you've got to be so on it to think of so many different ideas, like at such a short space of time. Like, that's one thing that towards the end of last year that kind of put me off YouTube altogether, really, was because videos were just getting so similar, and you were just seeing the same thing over and over again. And it's just a bit like, well, who's going to come back and do the next thing, you know?
Yeah, and it just becomes, I think there becomes a bit of like angst among the community as well, of people calling each other out for like making similar videos and stuff. And it's like, if you grab some old golf clubs from, I've seen about, I don't know, 5-6 YouTubers, big YouTubers, do stuff about buying golf clubs from charity shops, and great idea. I don't know who came up with that first. Brilliant. There's probably about 30 or 40 really in total, for all I know. But people are going to see that and they're going to borrow each other's ideas. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it because everyone has their own style and delivery and stuff like that. But I just see it is the problem with stuff like Twitter and Instagram, that you just see so much cattiness about it. And there's now becoming people that are obviously starting channels off the drama, which is like incredible to think that's even a thing. But
I only discovered things like this, like these certain channels the other day. Literally, I was watching, and I can't remember who I was watching, to be fair, but it was a golf YouTuber. I think it might have been a Crossfield or someone like that. And then I don't know if you've seen him, but I think it's Top Bloke.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it just like, you just think, how on earth is that a thing?
I know. Yeah, it just.
You know what I mean? It's just like, and there are people that did it to start with. So like, I actually briefly had a conversation with him when I first started. And that's Robin Matthews Williams.
Yeah.
So like when I first started, I actually had a conversation with him on Instagram, kind of just to see how he kind of got going and what he did. As I did with a lot of like yourself, I spoke to you, I spoke to Flower, I spoke to James as well about how to kind of get set up and started. And he responded. It was interesting because obviously his claim to fame, as you would put it, was he absolutely rinsed people like me and my golf. Yeah. Well, mainly me and my golf, really, and Rick Shields and that kind of mainstream golf on YouTube. He absolutely ripped it apart. And that's what created the kind of initial audience. And now you look at his content and it's so different.
Yeah.
So I think he was where he's different to those other ones is he was quite clever. He gained that audience by being a bit controversial, captured their attention, and then started doing not necessarily what other people are doing, but that similar kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just attention grabbing, isn't it? It's something that, like, I know you have as well. I have steer clear of. If there's talking points within the industry, I get it. But like just going out and kind of calling all these different YouTubers or professionals this and this because they've had a bad round, it's like, really? Like, there are going to...
I'd never do it, and I'd never call out anyone. And bearing in mind, I've played with Flower now a few times. And it's like he gets a load of stick. Like me and him speak about it quite a lot, and it's just like, how on earth he's got such a thick skin? He just doesn't care. Like he just doesn't care. That at the end of the day, the way he sees it is if they're commenting, it means they're watching it at some point. Yeah. So it's not really an issue. But I mean, it drives me insane. It's one of the reasons why it contributes to me not doing it, because you get a few negative comments and you think, well, the quality's not there or something like that, and it's just, well, obviously not. I'm filming on a phone for a start. Yeah. Well, I was anyway, and it's just like, well, of course the quality's not going to be there. I've got not even 1,000 subscribers. I'm on a budget of absolutely zero, so it's not going to be amazing to start with. And like I think, like you said it the other day, it is just a hobby. It's not something that at the minute is worth throwing absolutely everything into it. And it's a bit of a shame that people feel they need to kind of absolutely pick on that.
Yeah, I think that when I watched a podcast with is it TXG that are based in Canada with Crossfield? Have you
Yes.
ever heard of
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Really
sorry.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like fitting, they've got at least one shop and do like fittings and stuff and do videos from there. And they were talking to him about it, and he was like, when you start, when you look back at you, and me and you say the same, when you look back at your first video and you look back at your latest one, you think, bloody hell, the change in like the quality, and because you learn as you go on, even like your editing skills and like how you shoot stuff and all that kind of stuff. But you're always going to have the negative trolls in the comments. You're going to get the people that want to do it because they want a couple of likes. Whether that's a self-satisfaction, I don't know, but it depends how you want to take it. Like very similar to what Crossfield answered. He was like, well, I just ignore it, but occasionally challenge people. And I think it's true. Like, you definitely can't start like taking it personally, and it will just, like you said, it just stops you wanting to make the content, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. It can get to you. I mean, it doesn't really get to me at all. I think the first vlog I did with Flower at Stover. We spoke about the vlog I did with you at Dawlish Warren. And the first tee shot I have, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but first tee shot, I shanked it into the car park that looked like it was going to Exmouth. Like, it was horrendous, and everyone saw it, and I was just like, oh God, that is awful. And especially as it was a first vlog as well, I was just like, I'm just going to get absolutely ripped for this. And on one of the comments, it was like, oh, there's no way you're a single figure handicap golfer. You're never going to make it as a pro. And me and Flower were talking about it, and it's just like, and even on the day with Flower, it's just like, Flower's the better golfer. I was 1 under through 11.
Yeah.
Flower was like 3 over, and it's just like, Flower's the better golfer and all this. And I was just thinking, like, I don't care whether Flower is the better golfer. There's no doubt about it. But like, just like enjoy it with the people that are on it, I suppose, and just go with it. It's not, you don't need to criticize, you know. It's just. Yeah. But I mean, I suppose the argument to that is if you put yourself on there, you've got to accept that there are going to be people that do it. I think that's the counter argument. Yeah, definitely. If you don't want people to criticize, then don't do it, I suppose. No. Sometimes
it's an open forum, and anyone can sign up a Gmail account in a name and make a comment. Yeah. If I wanted to, I can go on and comment on somebody else's post. Not I would, but you know what I mean? Like, there are people out there that do that and like dislike other people's videos, but it is what it is, and it unfortunately that is the platform. But hopefully, as time goes on, things like that might stop a little bit, but people might be less bored when lockdown's finished.
So what do you think will be the first event back in golf?
I'm trying to think. So obviously they postponed the Open, haven't they?
Yeah, Open's not till 2021 now.
So I think it'll be the Masters. I think they'll obviously just basically move it, so shuffle it along. It will be interesting. Again, I don't think there'll be a crowd. So it is one of them events where it's like such a beautiful, well, my setting behind me is such a beautiful golf course, is that I think you could just have purely the sound of golfers and them talking, and it'd be amazing without even any commentary.
Yeah, the place does it justice, doesn't it?
Whether, like, I know in other sports they've talked about potentially putting like voice, like crowd noises over and stuff, which is like, I think it'd be weird if you can't see anyone and you can hear people. But
there's nothing worse than that. Like, I read that the other day, that's what potential like thing that they could look at doing was, and it almost made me cringe. It almost reminds me of those TV shows that they send in, it like You've Been Framed, where they send in the embarrassing videos with the laughter over it. It's just it's just so cringe. I'd rather them just not have it.
Yeah, I think
you'd hear the players between them going, "Oh, good shot," or whatever it is. Like, in a way that would make it so much more organic and raw. Yeah, and it's something we haven't really seen. We don't get to hear the golfers talk, and that's why the whole Tiger versus Phil thing was so interesting, because it's just something we've never seen in golf. Yeah, we've seen it in tennis when they do like the rally for relief and the hit for 80 and stuff like that when they're all mic'd up, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant to watch, because you're seeing the characters and their personalities a little bit more than what you would do in they're obviously going to still be competitive, but in between shots you see them anyway, don't you, chatting away and laughing away sometimes. I don't know about you, but I always think, I wonder what they're chatting about, and are they actually talking about golf? Or are they just trying to distract themselves in between shots? What are they doing? So it would be interesting.
The par 3 competition at the Masters is like incredible. The way that obviously, like, you just get the moments where like the golfers will stop by with their like family, whoever's with them, and like chat away to the guys on Sky Sports. Like, it's so much more relaxed and pure. And I think that it is such a the history behind Augusta and the competition is incredible. And like I say, the scenery, etc., and just the sounds you have, like that pure sound of just like the birds whistling and golf shots being hit, and like, you know, whatever it is, will like claps from, I don't know, the caddies. There's just, I think I wouldn't even worry about the fans. I know obviously from a
there will be elements where you kind of think, oh, it needs it. Like you would argue on the final day, that player coming up on the final hole on the last day, you think that atmosphere won't be there. You know, when they're walking up to the green and there's thousands of people around the green, that's where it will be missed. I think general kind of play, arguably kind of Thursday or the whole week really, where there's no one there. I don't think at the Masters anyway that it, like you say, you would notice it too much. Obviously it'll look different because there's just no one there.
Yeah.
But in terms of kind of the spectacle of it, I don't think anyone would notice that much until the last day. I think that's when you would notice it.
Could you imagine though, like how much more beautiful Augusta would look if it didn't have massive stands?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, isn't it? You'll see parts of the golf course that you wouldn't have necessarily seen. So it's. I mean, I think we're just going to have to accept the fact that it's going to happen. Like, it's going to be there, isn't it? It's going to happen.
Yeah.
The whole mass gatherings just can't happen at the minute.
No.
So I mean, the PGA and all that, and they've just got a big decision to make whether they find it justified that they want to do it without crowds. I think they have to really just to get the ball rolling and get stuff and get sport going again. Because I just don't think as a nation we would cope all too well for a year without anything like that. Really, I mean, there's talks of the Premiership coming back, isn't there? Which at the minute I just find absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's just you think how many people, not even just from like the squad staff, you're talking like hundreds of people that have got to be at somewhere like the Emirates for an Arsenal game. Yeah. It's not like it's...
Yeah, it's not just a case of keeping players separate, is it?
Yeah.
It's a case of...
Yeah, it's not 22
it's
people.
It's just mad.
Yeah, it's just... I do find it crazy.
I'm into my squash massively, and the squash is a hard one because, like, I saw online the other day, I don't know if it was... The problem is there's so much fake media, there's fake news and stuff online. It's just ridiculous. I try not to take notice of it too much, but... It was like leaked of a coronavirus update in Ireland about what the phases were going to look like.
Yeah.
And they defined non-contact sport to be one of the first things to come back. And for me, like I was speaking to a few of the guys from the squash club and saying, well, in technically, you know, squash is a non-contact sport. So in theory, you'd think that'd be able to come back. But at the same time, you're so close to each other.
Yeah.
I just can't see how sport... But yeah, they were talking about tennis coming back today. I read about tennis coming back today. And saying how tennis could be one of the first ones to come back, and you could argue really that, again, you know, tennis probably is ideal, but it's not just a case of getting the players there, is it? It's anyone else that's going to be there, like
exactly. You still got
tournament officials and everything like that.
Boys and girls,
and it's behind the scenes that you don't see. So, like, even with football and rugby, like what happens when the players are in the change rooms? Because no doubt, apart from the bigger clubs that have got massive facilities, you're not going to be 2 meters away from each other in the changing rooms.
No.
And it's the same in like tennis, you know, the changing rooms in tennis clubs and squash clubs and whatever. It's almost impossible to social distance. Like there's a lot of thinking. I think it's a harder thought process for sport than I think a lot of people realise.
Yeah.
And like I say, golf-wise, golf is not going to be the same for a very long time. Like clubhouses probably they're not going to be open.
No.
Unless they've got, and the only thing that would help golf is if a lot of them have got terraces and outside areas, so that might come into play a bit earlier. But I know certainly at Exminster, it's just pro shop and golf course, and that's it. Yeah,
I guess it's just. I think the first step is just getting members back. You know, getting their money's worth value of having a membership, which is where golf.
See, that's the other thing, isn't it? Is do you think it will just be members, or will it be pay and play golfers?
I think members to start off with. Again, from rumblings I've heard, it's members if you live within 5 miles. But again, that could just be what they're doing in other countries. But
I mean, it's difficult because that's another thing we were speaking about the other day. Like a few of us from work, and from a business point of view, we want as many people playing as possible, as much as we can physically handle, whilst obeying the social distancing rules. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, really, because like obviously businesses have been shut now for so long that clubs will just be so keen to get some sort of income.
Yeah.
So to me, I like we said earlier, we touched on it earlier, like, I don't see why, if things like tee times being spaced out for 10, 15 minutes rather than 5 minutes or whatever it is, why we can't have pay and pay players. The only issue would be is bigger clubs would have to have marshals and things like that, I suppose, on the golf course. I think that's something that we've certainly looked at Exminster, is having someone on the tee, someone potentially going around and marshalling. And I think it's probably the best idea to do, really, especially if you are going to try and introduce pay and play.
Definitely. I think, like you say, we have to hope that people are going to be clever about it and obviously obey the rules. But I think if you start with a bit more of a bit like government have, really, if you start with a bit more of a stern stance and say, right, we're going to have someone, like say, a starter, and we're going to have 3 or 4 marshals going around, even if that's the pros, for example, if they're not in the shop, because the shop, or there's only one person in the shop, do the pros go around and do that? Because it can't just be left for people just to fend for themselves, because it would just go wrong really quickly. I think.
No, absolutely. I think it's just there's going to be an absolute element in not just in sport, but there's such a huge element of trust in relaxing these measures, isn't there? I mean, the way I see it, when they talk about kind of a risk of a second peak, the moment you relax it, there's always going to be that risk. Unfortunately, I think it's always going to be there. That risk it's never going to go. That risk is never going to not be there. It's unfortunately, I think, something that we're now stuck with. However, there's such a huge element of trust in the public, which I think 99% of the public are able to do. So, I mean, it's just so difficult, isn't it? It's something we've never seen before.
No, I mean, we'll look back at it, I'm sure.
In my lifetime anyway, it's just never... It's just
5,
crazy.
10, 15, 20 years' time, we'll look back and we'll laugh about how crazy it was and how different life was. But in a lot of other ways, whether it's like personal or with sports and stuff, it might do everyone a lot of good what's happened, and hopefully it's changed people's mindsets.
Yeah, I've tried to be as positive as I possibly can, really. Like, for me, mental health is something that's never really affected me that much. Like, I've never really taken much notice of my mental health. I've always thought I'm okay. I'm not struggling. And like I say, the few weeks in was the first real eye opener to kind of how much this kind of thing can have an effect on you mentally without you even realizing, really, before it's too late. Like, I was getting to the point where I didn't want to go Tesco's. It's just like I was leaving the house, and I'm someone that I'm normally the opposite. I spend more time outside than I do indoors. So it's like, well, for someone like me to kind of be even afraid to step out my front door to go in the car to go to Tesco's, it's scary, and it makes you realise, doesn't it, really, like, just how powerful the mind can be sometimes in a positive and negative way, isn't it? So I take my hat off to anyone with mental health issues during this period that have managed to get through it. And the way, like, I know a few people that have struggled with it, and the way I've kind of spoke to people about it is if you can get through these times with mental health, you can near enough get through absolutely anything, in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully, although that in the news it just seems to be very negative regarding mental health at the minute, obviously, because things like suicides are going up, sadly, and stuff like that. But I think this should have a positive outcome on not necessarily how we deal with it as a healthcare service, but how us as individuals deal with it. Because, I mean, it's one of those where, like I say, if you can get through times like this, when you struggle with mental health and you actually do get through it and come out the other side of it, then there's not a lot else in life that will be able to be thrown at you that you can't handle with, really. Yeah. I think this is a bigger feat for the public than they actually think, because it's such a huge change in life for everyone.
No, agreed.
It'll be interesting to see how we come out of it.
Definitely, and obviously everyone, when they're working in the key workers, did an incredible job. It's it's tough for people that are having to sit at home or sit in their gardens in the sun, for example. But them guys are going to work and having to deal with the reality of being close to, or some people even catching it, is crazy. But yeah, hopefully we come out the other side and we get back out onto the golf course, hopefully soon, but not too soon that it's obviously putting people at danger. But
yeah, it's just we just don't want to rush it. I mean, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's probably looking like it's going to happen before mid-May, isn't it? I can't imagine golf being any later than that.
No.
The earliest it's going to happen is Monday, I think. But it's I don't know. We just have no idea. I mean, it's the only way. where I've been frustrated with the government compared to, like, you look at other countries, it's like although they say and they're trying to be as transparent as they possibly can, it's frustrating me watching it, because they haven't really, especially when it comes to the lockdown relaxation of it. They haven't said anything, and whether that's because they don't know or I don't know, but
yeah,
I think it's been tough.
A lot of stuff will come out in the wash, I think, after, but from a obviously political point of view and a lot of sports, there'll be a lot of rumblings, I'm sure, going on within golf, rugby, football, whatever it is. You know, stuff will come out that things could have been done differently. But hopefully, if obviously a lot of people die, which is bloody horrible, and if we can try and get this over and done with and everyone back to normal, it'd be good. Golf obviously isn't the end of the world for the world, but obviously to us golfers it seems like it at times. But I think if
I think it takes something like this sometimes to understand just how much sport plays a part in people's lives.
Yeah, definitely.
Like for me, when I went through that bit of a lull, what it took for me to get out of it was to exercise, and go out on the bike or go out for runs or whatever it was. So it just, sport plays such a huge role, not just in kind of physical health, but in mental health as well. So I think that's why they're so keen to get something back going, aren't they? And they've said that from day one. But I mean, I get the feeling that when golf does come back, I think golf is going to be absolutely booming. There are so many people that I know that have barely played the sport, but own a set of clubs that they bought from a car boot sale, and even their time I'm going, I'm just going to go and play when I can.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I think sports will really kind of benefit big time from it because of such a long absence from it.
Yeah.
I think participation levels in terms of newcomers, I think it's just going to absolutely thrive. It'd be great to see if it does.
Definitely.
And I just can't see anything other than positivity coming from it afterwards with sport at the minute, because everyone's going to have been so desperate to do it for so long. So who knows, something like this might come, although it's been an absolute tragedy across the world, who knows, like, what is a tragedy could be such a positive outcome in the end. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like I say, we've never seen anything like this before, so it's just so difficult to tell whether it'll come again or whatever. I just don't know.
Well, yeah, definitely not one to push messages as per se, but it does make you reflect on things a lot. I think definitely a big key thing is obviously everyone getting through this and staying connected with people is such a massive thing. I probably never spoke to people that haven't, like some of my old school friends that I would probably see once a year, speaking to every single week, which obviously I think is things that people have got to keep on doing. And I think, like, for us as like golfers or golf fans or working in golf like you do, I think the key message is really for people just to make sure they support their local pros and their local clubs. Go out and use your golf course, eat at the restaurant if you can afford to, have drinks after, you know, go and buy your golf balls and clubs and bits and bobs at your shops, because my God, are people going to need it. A lot of clubs are going to be really struggling. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. I think, I don't know if you know him, but Brad Sercombe, the assistant pro at Dainton, he isolated himself before lockdown because of his health reasons and whatnot. But he put a video on Instagram saying exactly the same thing. This is the time now where you need to support local pros through it, because a lot of them will be self-employed. Although a lot of them get retainers from golf clubs, they are self-employed. So some of them might not necessarily have had support through this. And this is a time really where you need to go in, and if you are going to, it sounds so kind of like, not beggy, but this is a real time. If you do need golf balls, go to see your local pro about it, because I'm sure at the minute, especially at the minute, deals will be happening because they just want to start making money again. They just want to start working properly again. It's just so hard. I think that's the risk of something like this, is because online sales have gone like that. They've just rocketed. Yeah. I think a lot of retailers, not just in golf, but are probably a little bit worried about kind of the high street stores and even pro shops, really, because online shopping is so dominant as it is. And something like this has probably made it a little bit harder for us in pro shops and stuff. But yeah, if golfers don't want to do anything at the minute really to support golf, it is to support your club and your pros, really. I couldn't agree more.
100%. Well, I'll sign off, mate. I'll leave it at that, because I've had you for nearly an hour, and I know that you probably have enjoyed talking.
I'm a busy man, mate. I've got appointments left, right, and centre.
You probably got Netflix series coming out your backside.
Disney Plus, mate. That's what it's at.
But yeah, I know. Obviously, it's a long video for people to sit through as well, and but hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. And really good to have you back on the channel, mate. And definitely can't wait
to see you.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back out and film a few more bits out on the course together as well. It's going to be really good.
A few more chipping birdies, mate. A few more chipping birdies on the channel.
No, yeah. As well, if you're still watching this at an hour's point nearly, if you haven't already, go and follow Curtis both on his YouTube channel. I'll leave a link down below in the description on his social channels as well. So go and follow him on them. Hopefully, Curtis will join me in making a few more videos soon. And that's it. Thanks a lot for joining me, mate.
Cheers, mate. See you soon. Stay safe.